Okay, so I played my closed, blocked Benoni, check Benoni kind of stuff because he's a little kid. Well, I've had this many times before. He played G3, which is one of the moves I face the most. And normally I still play knight here, knight here, knight here, which I think is bad. I think my knight's not good on G6 against the G3 pawn. So I decided to play something different this time. I just castled. And 98. Castles in 98 in this system is more common than what I normally do, which I delay castling and I move my knight over to G6. But this castling in 98 is a more common way of playing for black. And I played G6 and knight D7 and knight G7. So I sort of skipped by his B3 move. That move doesn't make any sense. So white's either going to play for F4 or B4. There's no reason to play B3. I don't know why he played B3. Yeah, that's just not, it's not a good move. It loses a tempo, basically. The pawn is just as good on B2 as it is B3. So there's no reason to play B3. Okay, I played knight G7. He played bishop E3, which I thought was not best. Because, you know, he's not really playing for F4 or B4. He's just making random moves. Okay, so I finally played F5. And he played F4, which is good. And I played A6 because I thought his knight could go to B5 sometimes. Because my plan was to play bishop F6 and queen E7. Then his knight could come in here maybe. And also I worry him about B5. Maybe I'll play B5 later. He played A4, which is anti-positional. Because his only break on the queen side is B4. And now he's weakened his dark squares. So I can, you know, pawn on B3 could potentially become weak. So the insertion of A6 and A4 is good for black. Now, what's funny about all of this is the reason I'm playing this opening, especially against this player, is he's young, so he won't understand the positional and strategical niceties as well as me. However, the way chess is analyzed by engines, they don't care about that. So the engine just sees that who has more space and calculates 20 moves ahead for each side. So the engine always likes white in any kind of position in a queen pawn opening where there's a pawn on D5, like the King's Indian or the Benoni or the Benko Gambit or the Czech Benoni. So it always likes white, and it's a question of how much it likes white. So in this position, since in my opinion, B3 and A4 are not good moves, and my moves are all good, as far as I can tell. His advantage, like to me, he has no advantage. I'd rather have black here. But to the engine, the advantage that white has is minimal compared to other positions where you see a pawn on D5. It always just likes white. It doesn't matter what's happening. And at some point it likes black if it thinks white does something, you know, bad. Okay, he played rook c1, which is, it's not really where you want your rook, but it's not bad. It's just sort of slow. And I played queen e7. And here he broke the tension, which is uncalled for. My idea was to take on f4, and I thought he would probably take with the knight, and then I play knight e5. I want to put my knight on e5, and I want to open the diagonal for my bishop. And the reason I like black here, even though the engine likes white a lot, is potentially my bishops can become quite good, and his bishops are sort of blocked. This bishop is on like a blockaded diagonal. This bishop is hitting against, against steel. But my bishop can open up on this diagonal, and my bishop can open up on this diagonal. And my knights can go to f5 and e5. and I have them defended by pawns. If his knight goes to e4, somehow it's not defended. And I have the d4 square for my bishop or my knight once these pawns get traded, and these pawns get traded, but he doesn't have the d5 square for his bishop or his knight. That's because his pawn's on d5 and he has more space. Now, if you talk to a better player than me, like, I don't know, Magnus Carlsen, he'll tell you that white has a big advantage because white has this pawn on d5 and more space, and black is very passive. The only player better than me who plays this opening a lot with black is Levon Aronian. And normally, when he does play this opening, he's playing it in rapid and blitz. Levon Aronian, although he's played this dozens of times, these ideas with knight e8 and g6 and knight g7, he's not playing them so often in slow chess. But I think this kind of strategical game where you're trying to put your pieces on the right squares and you're trying to come up with a long-term plan and nothing has been traded yet is advantageous to like the person who's played the position more and the older player, and something where you're calculating and kings are getting checkmated and so forth, that would be advantageous to my opponent who's 12 years old. So I was happy with my position here because I want to play e5, I want to play bishop f6, I want to put my knights here, and he hasn't done anything on the queen side like b4 and knight b5 and rook b1. He hasn't done anything that like I'm afraid of. Okay, so here he made the first move the engine really doesn't like. He traded on e5. He didn't maintain the tension. And now the engine goes from it prefers white to it way prefers black. And the reason is not what you think. It's also not what I think. I thought it's just because I played knight takes e5 and my knight's on e5. Hooray! The reason the engine doesn't like f takes e5 is it gives away the g5 square and it wants me to play g5 and f4 or g5 and g4. And his pawn on f4 made that more difficult. So it really hates f takes e5. It thinks that's a very bad move. Now the engine wants black all day. Now obviously I want my knight on e5 because not only am I improving my knight, it's on e5, my bishop can now get out. It's doing something instead of being blocked by the knight. And my knight's good on e5. Okay, he played h3 because he's trying to prevent knight g4, I guess. And now the engine really wants me to play g5, which I must admit I didn't even consider here. I just wanted to develop my pieces. So after g5, the engine is giving black a big advantage. It wants to continue pushing this pawn. But I played bishop d7, and I'm going to play rook e8, and all my pieces are nicely placed. Now it says the position is equal because he can play knight f4, which he did do, and I played rook a e8. The engine still slightly prefers black. And when you play this kind of passive opening where often I don't have a lot to do and I'm like waiting for a mistake, you're really pleased when you get a position like this where the engine doesn't prefer white. It says black's doing just great. Right, sweetie? Mm-hmm. This is my round 3 game.
Okay. I forgot who the opponent was.
A little kid, Andrew Guo, like 12.
How's everybody doing?
He was a bit fidgety. He's like my new emote where it shakes like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the camera's too... It needs to tilt down more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday I had to move the camera because it was all off everywhere to make it as good as I could.
Yeah, there's too much gap. It's like, I feel like the bottom is like up to my neck.
Yeah, but the top has to be just above the bookcase.
Yeah, I agree.
You can adjust it.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah. I have to adjust it when I'm here. I did it yesterday.
Hey, how are the green beans?
Good. They're in my tummy now.
So let me see. So
I got green beans and I got green Perrier. Mm-hmm. I didn't see anything happen.
Do you have the OBS screen up?
No. Oh, now it happened.
That's good.
It is.
It's better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, that
Yeah, you got 3 girls in the picture now from 0. That was good. Stacey Abrams is the 3rd girl.
Can you see if I did it too much?
It's, you can't see the top of the bookshelf.
I didn't mean to do that much. It doesn't.
You can't see the. Yeah, that's. I would do it 1/1,000,000th of an inch more.
Which way?
Well, you can't see the top of the bookshelf. So up a little. Very little.
It's hard to do.
Very little. No, that's too much. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Good. Perfect. You couldn't be more perfect than that. Next to that, perfection's crap. Go, Spencer.
Hey, Spencer, how's it going? Any karaoke interest later?
You didn't tell me about your lunch, if you had a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time.
I hear that Stacey Abrams' mom has it going on. Did you get, what do you call it? Tulsi tea? Mm-hmm. What's better, Tulsi tea or Tulsi Gabbard? Tulsi tea.
What's everybody up to?
The engine's been thinking a lot while we've been sitting here, and she's fixing the camera. Depth 39, and it says equal, all zeros. Hey, Grunshore. Thank you. A hype train is, I still haven't got a hype train. I've just been close 3 times, but I've never gotten to one.
It's going well. I would love to hear an update from you on what.
It's because space is curved. That's why that it's a little tilted.
Yeah, we know. I want to get rid of the bookshelf. It's just I've been too busy. I did play Arthur Guo, but this is a different.
Right, this is Andrew Guo.
Yeah.
I pointed that out earlier.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Guo.
Right, there's about 5,000 Guos that are USDF rated, and they all start with A for some reason.
Okay, good, Grunge War.
The bookshelf is never parallel to the camera. It's been like that always.
It's more off than usual.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's always like about that.
It is. That I want to get rid of it, but for now that's what we're living with.
She wants to get rid of the camera, then you could only hear us, you can't see us.
I played him a couple of months ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yay, that's our first hype train from the Eradicator. Hooray. We got rated by Anna Chess.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. Yay. Man, level 1, 25%. That's hard to do. Usually it starts in the 70s to 90s. Wow, 25%. That's like 3 100-cent to do donations.
Yeah.
Don't forget all of our new emotes. Hooray. Okay, in this position, my opponent played Bishop F2. And the engine says, boo, boo. Now the engine says I'm winning with a move I didn't consider. It wants me to play Bishop to G5. And it's giving me like 1.7. It really hates this position. I guess I'm threatening to take this, and then this isn't sufficiently defended. Also, knight h5 comes into play because his knight is pinned. Usually, I'm thinking about bishop g5 when there's a bishop here, and I want to trade the dark squared bishops. But I wasn't thinking about trading the dark squared bishops because my bishop is so good, and his bishop is not, it's theoretically good, but not in practice. Yeah. It's like LA law good, but not the practice.
You mean theoretically good because all the pawns are on light squares?
That's right. There's white square pawns everywhere, so this is the good bishop.
Theoretically.
And you're the good wife. But I wasn't thinking about trading for that bishop because I sort of like my bishop.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Anyway, I finally played g5, which I should have played 2 or 3 moves ago. And he made a move I didn't consider.
Mm-hmm.
What would that be, Karen?
I guess, well, no.
What move can white make that I wouldn't consider? Go, hype train. Thanks, JT Foxy, for continuing the gift sub.
I don't know. I don't want to have to. I don't know.
He played queen g4, hanging his queen to 2 things. I didn't consider that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get that.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
All right, well, what?
Okay,
then?
so I thought he would play knight h5 or knight d3.
Yeah.
And then the engine says I'm crushing him. But he played knight e6, which I didn't see. Now, this is the best thing I did in the tournament, was this position. I didn't see knight e6. So when he played knight e6, I started calculating knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen d5 check, and then queen takes, or knight d5 and knight takes and queen takes. And I didn't like any of it because my d-pawn's weak, and I'm opening up his bishop, and I'm opening up his knight, I'm opening up his queen. But it seems like I have to take that, because that's, well, not that way, because that's annoying. But I actually played the best move here. I played the engine move.
Okay.
It follows one of my rules. Always sack the exchange. So instead of taking this, I played f4. This is the best move. This is a powerful exchange sacrifice that, if accepted, gives him a very bad position. Because my pawn is so good on f4, my knight's so good here, and his e4 pawn he can't take on f5 anymore, so he's just, basically his pieces just can't move. So after knight takes rook and me taking back, it just says black's winning. It doesn't like him doing that because his rooks are ineffective.
Right.
And my pieces are fantastic.
Thank you, bishop takes.
Yay. We need one more thing so the hype train goes to level 2.
No, I did not see all that Shlomo.
We need a thing.
Did not see all that.
Can you ask your wife to ask her boyfriend if I can take her on a date?
Who, Naroditsky?
Can you ask your boyfriend if this guy can take you on a date? Now, probably, I don't understand your handle. It says Joe Biden's bastard. So I don't know if you mean Joe Biden is a bastard or you're his bastard son.
I think he means he's the bastard son.
All right. 200 centidues. Thanks, Grunjort. Getting off of level 1. Okay. Now, in this position, he decided instead of winning the exchange, he correctly decided to win the pawn instead. Take, take, take. But my compensation is obvious. His pieces are dead. And my knight is great. My bishop's great. My rook is great. I'm going to play king h8 and attack on the g-file, etc. Okay, now I've played the excellent knight, a bishop here, bishop g5. And then when I said excellent, I meant knight g6. I could have played knight g6 on the previous move. And the reason I want to play knight g6 is it threatens his knight, because I got 3 guys on his knight. And if he takes my knight, which he did, then when I take back, all of the sudden, I have the h5 square for my knight, because my pawn's on g6. And this knight comes to life. Obviously, this knight's not going any of these squares. And it can't go to h5, because that's not accessible. However, if he trades knights on g6, then knight h5 is accessible. If he doesn't trade knights, his knight's hanging. So the engine wants him to play knight ce2, very passive.
Oh, okay.
But that's, he's a kid, so he trades. Now his rook is attacked. You agree? So he played rook c2.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and now
About
my
the
knight
knights
has
because
h5
of the
square.
pawn.
Right.
I was like, what do you mean the queen?
And I played knight
I see.
h5, attacking his bishop. Yeah. Now in this position, the engine says I'm winning, and the way to win is to be an engine. I'm not an engine, so I didn't do it. Thanks, Perpetual, for the sub.
Yay, thank you.
So one of the variations I analyzed was bishop e3 check, king h1, queen h4, threatening bishop takes h3. And this is completely winning for black, but I had trouble calculating like rook f3, bishop takes d6, etc. Mainly etc. And I couldn't figure it out, so I didn't do it. Like after rook f3, the engine goes here, and then the engine doesn't suggest taking this pawn because bishop g4 wins. But he could play rook here check. And then I guess if he takes this, I have queen here check. And then I have queen g1 mate. Anyway, I didn't see like a lot of that. So I knew my position was really good. And I thought this is either winning or I'm messing it up. So it's better not to mess it up and just be winning strategically like I am here. So I played knight f4, and he played a very bad move. And the engine will tell you knight f4 is a very bad move because I didn't play bishop e3 check and queen h4. I didn't play the most incisive. And he played a very bad move here, which reminds me of when he played knight takes g6. He took my knight, and you can't trade this bishop because this bishop is behind all of his pawns. You can't trade the bishop for the knight because you don't have any dark square protection. And he did anyway. Yeah. Now he's strategically lost. Even though he's up a pawn, it's probably better if his pawn isn't there, just so his knight and bishop have the square. And now he can never do anything in the long run. In this game, I wasn't interested in winning quickly. I wanted the game to go on and on and on, and he would be really annoyed by my dark squared bishop. Okay. So nothing much happened for a while. We traded all the rooks. And he just can't do anything. He doesn't have any play. Like I dominate the board. And then he blundered. Yeah, h4 is a bad move. Queen c1 is good. He should play bishop h3 here. And he played this. That's a blunder. Queen e3 is good. And then I played queen e1. Now this is hard to stop because I said so. And because of his bad defense here, he didn't trade off the white square bishops, which was his only hope. Now it says I'm +6. Earlier I was +1. But he has to defend properly, which isn't easy to do. Now the game is over because he can't stop queen h4 check. So he played h5, trying not to lose the pawn. Queen h4 check. It doesn't matter which piece he puts on h3. Now this is a cool move. This is like a puzzle you get like when we do puzzles. This position.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the best move for black?
So
I'm down a pawn still.
Yeah.
And my move is +9. So the engine really likes my position.
Best move for black.
That's right, C.L. Smith. Karen did really well. +90.
Oh yeah, I did get some points. So I've been sick, so I'm trying to rebound because now I got 2 more tournaments next week. The women's in Vegas and then the main event. So probably too much. But maybe I'll get 90 more points. See. All right, if I take there, it takes there.
Thanks,
Yeah.
more. You subscribe more than other people.
I don't know.
So I want to play g4, winning. So I did. I played g5. And he looked at me and said, I can stop g4. And I said, you're a daisy if you do. Yeah, G5's cool because his pawn, it goes by his pawn.
You're
Now he
right,
took
okay.
en passant. Oh wait, you can't do that. I like that I'm down a pawn, but it says I'm plus 11.
Mhm.
Okay, so he played queen G2. I played G4, and he resigned.
It was
Yeah. Now let me show you the variation that I was looking at after G5.
right.
It was H6 check. Trying to remember. Or wait, was it King G2? What was the variation I was looking at? It was really cool. I'm so cool. I'm so cool. Ah, yeah. Okay, here's the variation I looked at when I played G5. H6 check, Queen H6, King G2. Now he's not pinned. G4, Bishop G4, Queen G5. How does he defend his bishop? He has one move that defends it.
King, yeah, H3.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the winning move?
Let's see.
Karen approved.
Queen H5.
Yeah. Then it says I'm plus 14.
Yeah.
So that was the one variation I looked at when I played G5, was if he plays H6 check, I can still take and go here. Because I don't want to move my king, because his queen can come in somewhere. But if I move my queen, I can't play G4 anymore, except I can. Yeah, his queen G2 was shallow and pedantic. Then he resigned. That was good resigning. Now that's the kind of that's the kind of game that I'm looking for when I play this opening. That kind of pawn structure, the F5 break, outplaying the opponent strategically. And I didn't play as well as I did when I was a good player, but I played good enough where the final position's embarrassing, because his defense wasn't good. And his understanding of certain key ideas wasn't good. Like, he plays b3 and a4 and bishop takes f4. A lot of strategical mistakes because he's 12. Not a lot of tactical mistakes, but strategical mistakes. And then he found that knight e6 move because he's 12, and I was just lucky that I played f4. Like, I was analyzing taking, and I was like, I don't like this. I missed knight e6. Wah! And Shabalov's like, be quiet. And he was sitting 2 boards away, but I was so noisy crying. He was, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably true, Mark.
But this position's good.
Yeah.
Also, I'm still down a pawn. I never got my pawn back from my pawn sacrifice. But I did see the movie Pawn Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. That was